All right, everybody, welcome back. Uh, as you all know, if you've checked out any of my other footage, um, ultimately, we're going to kind of get an idea of um, a few things that is going to come up tomorrow. And basically, there's a lot going on. Obviously, we saw the market end up 400 points, which is a lot. I know Friday's sell off was 600. Still not above 29,000 for the Dow. We're at 28,807, so we're close. Um, Nasdaq up 200 freaking points with Tesla going nuts. The S&P 500 up 50 for yesterday's close. So today's a big day, and there's a lot going on in the market. And the first thing I want to take a look at is the economic calendar. So the economic calendar is ultimately the news that is released for the day, and why it matters. So we did have the president had his speech tonight. That could impact the market. Doesn't look like it will, so we should be good there. Um, but there's a lot going on that's going to be announced tomorrow, and some of the biggest thing that's going to be announced is the ADP non-farm employment change from January to February. Um, so why does this even matter? This is basically the monthly change in non-farm private employment based on payroll data of about a half a million business clients. It's a big deal. It's a big market mover. Um, Obviously, non-farm employment changes. The expectation is uh, previously there was 202,000. The forecast right now 156. That's going to make a big difference for tomorrow. We have export information. The trade-off tariffs with our China. Basically, it's what we've exported. We have our imported data. That's going to make a big difference. The trade balance. That's going to make a big difference. The value between the imported and exported goods. So we know we've been getting tariffs and things from China, so we're getting extra money on taxes as our president is taxing them. Ultimately, that's going to make a big deal. Those are all announced at 8:30. So at 8:15 is non-farm payroll, 8:30 export, 8:30 import, and 8:30 trade balance. 8:30 is an important time tomorrow morning. We have the non-manufactured PMI, so the Purchasing Managers Index. Um, Basically, that's the uh, it basically has to do with the. There's four things that kind of make it up, and basically it matters because a stronger than forecasted data is bullish for the U.S. dollar. We'll put it that way. Non-manufacturing, so it's equal weights, business activities, new orders, and employment and supply deliveries. Um, that's going to come in around 10. That's going to make differences in our market. Crude oil inventories. Um, this is obviously, how much oil we have. And essentially, it's if an increase in crude oil is more than expected, it implies a weaker demand and is bearish for crude prices. And if an increase in crude is less than expected, it implies greater demand and bullish. That comes in also at 10:30. So there's a few other things, but those are the main things that actually make a difference. So we definitely want to keep an eye on uh, anything that's going to be announced tomorrow. We had a very bullish day at 400 points. I had to take a guess, something's not going to come out right tomorrow. It's going to bring the market down. But who knows, right? We had a 600-point sell-off on Friday, so we're not back to recovery from where we were. Um, and then on Thursday, there's some jobless claims and things like that that are going to come into play. So, ultimately, another thing I like to look at is going to be the Chinese market and the European market, how they're doing this evening, because they are live. It's obviously it's a daylight over there. So right now, the Nikkei, the Hang Seng are all in the green. Nikkei's up 1.3%. The Hang Seng index is up 138 points. It's a pretty good amount. They've been getting beat up over there on the coronavirus. So personally, the coronavirus is like a way to kind of bring the market to um, a small correction without having a reason. I think. I mean, yes, it will impact. Disney announced it's going to impact theirs because they had to shut down a few of their parks. It's like $100 and something million, $123 million. I think they said that's going to affect them. It is a big deal. Will we recover? Yeah. And will Disney recover? Absolutely. The people that were planning on going during that time are just going to go, later. Um, so I do look at the Chinese markets. They're all in the green. And then also you look at the overall. So the pre-market for the U.S. market doesn't open technically until 4 a.m. So we're about 4 hours away from that. But you can actually look at the data. Ooh, excuse me. And as of now, the valuation open for tomorrow is up 10 points for the Dow, and it's up 6 points for the Nasdaq. Now there could be a few things that are actually driving those particular things. For example, the Nasdaq is Tesla. Tesla probably is helping that number. It could be the only thing helping that number because they're after hours. If you look right here, we're up $17 after hours. But ultimately, it closed right about. If you take a look, right about where it opened. Huge, huge Saudi Arabian sell-off. I mean, 970 down to 860, 110-point sell-off in 3 minutes. Whoa. Anybody that bought puts on Tesla, anybody crazy enough to buy puts on Tesla, banked if they were able to sell within those 3 minutes. And if you weren't, you snooze, you lose, because that would have been thousands of dollars. So, with all that said, we do show a positive open for tomorrow, which is great. And there's a lot of things that I'm watching tomorrow. Obviously, we on my previous video, Ford announced their let me go to let's go here so I can get the news. Ford announced their earnings loss and a weaker expected forecast for 2020 for the entire year for 2020. And if you want to read into these nitty gritties, you can. But basically, it warned that China, it's a investments in unprofitable self-driving cars right now. The number 2 automaker fell 10% after hours. Huge movement. Huge movement for Ford. Typically Ford, the beta is 1.07, so it literally moves exactly with the market and nothing more and nothing less. So not a big mover. Not a big mover. People that own Ford typically are in for the dividend. They do pay a 7% annual dividend, so they do pay back their investors, and that's huge. That's actually huge. It's 15 cents a quarter. Add it all up, it's about 6.7% given the close of 9/18. It's going to be a little bit higher now. As long as they don't change that dividend, excuse me, there won't be much more of a drop in Ford tomorrow. I'm definitely watching Ford tomorrow. Definitely could be a potential buyer of Ford tomorrow. Um, Getting Ford at a good price, it will rebound. Absolutely. If you look here, this D right here on the 29th, so 6 days ago, that was when the dividend was basically the X date. And the pay date is March the 2nd. So you had to be trading, you had to own this a day before the X date in order to receive payment for the dividend. So anybody trading right now is not getting the dividend. And anybody that wants to sell it right now can sell it and still get the dividend. They own it as of record on the X date. So for example here, so I mean we can obviously see Ford. Let's take a look at Ford. It's been struggling, right? This is back in 18, hit its low right there in the beginning of 19. It's been coming back. They've been putting a lot of money into self-driving cars. They've been they pulled out of the car industry, so they literally do not make vehicles other than the Mustang anymore. It's all trucks. So let's see if it'll weigh out for them. But going into earnings here, so the last week or so, I mean, look at that. 3 days ago, it was 874. Kind of just been up with the market there. Went up to 922. It's big in a couple of days. So this 10% drop, it is a big deal, but it's not at the same time. So I'm definitely watching Ford. Definitely watching Ford. Definitely will be looking at potential like long-term style calls on Ford. Excuse me. They are in the self-driving market. They're going to get beat up because of how well Tesla's stock is also doing. So a lot of people are exiting, maybe even exiting Ford and going into Tesla, which would be dumb because you buy low, sell high, not sell high. Buy high, sell low, which would be selling a Ford. You'd be buying more if you were smart tomorrow, if you own it. But even with that said, there's something else that makes a big difference for tomorrow, and that's GM. General Motors actually announces their earnings tomorrow morning before market open. And if we take a look at GM, let's see, GM. All right. They're at $34. They pay a little bit less on the dividend. They pay more per quarter, but I mean, ultimately speaking, it's got great ratings right now, right? They are also exited the car industry as well recently, and they are making SUVs and trucks essentially as well. So basically, just can't compete with Honda and Toyota. So that'll be interesting to see tomorrow morning as well, as see how that does. And if we look at how it's done in the most recent earnings, open up here at open the day of earnings 37, the high 38. So we're talking about $1. Open 41, the high 41.90, up 50 cents. Not a big mover. And if we look at the beta, 1.39. And a little bit of a mover, I guess, with when the market moves, it moves. Anything over 1 moves a little bit higher, a little more volatility when it comes down to earnings. Dividend wise, the X date coming up here on the 5th, so you could get in on this quarterly dividend if you wanted to with the payment of the 20th. But I'm watching GM because they all go hand in hand together. And actually, Honda also announces tomorrow. So we're going to watch Honda. It's a Chinese stock, obviously. Let's see, Beta 128. Earnings, pays dividends. And apparently they're taking all the car market from the US, and the US is okay with it. They've given up essentially, right? So we're also watching Honda. Big day for the auto industry tomorrow. If they all go down, well, if not good earnings come out from GM, not good earnings come out with Honda, Ford will tank further than the 10% drop. So, um, yeah, so that. Those are the biggest ones right there. Chipotle, CMG, they announced earnings as well. Let me actually go to the one here. Yeah, I can get an idea what they did. They beat on higher prices and digital boost. So essentially, getting into technology, anything technology based is awesome, right? Earnings per share $2.55, $1.4 billion in revenue, estimated for 1.4 billion. Hit it on the nose. Um, Grew comparable restaurant sales by 13.4%. So definitely good things coming from Chipotle here. And if we take a look at the um, the chart here, let's go back to the a day. They've been on a steady increase since the breakout of E. coli when they were killing everybody in 2000 and into 15 into 16, dropped from about 7 something to about 4, all because of E. coli. So they're getting their way back up. They're hitting earnings. They're growing. People love it, right? It's an $800 stock. Um, that doesn't necessarily mean that it's huge. Just means market cap is 24.1 billion. There's 27 million shares available. 96% of it is held by institution. Huge. I mean, that's a lot. And institutional investors are those with $1 million and more. That tells you that the millionaires are very bullish on Chipotle, if you want to look at it that way. So, and options wise, we'll take a look at those tomorrow as well. But options are going to be fairly expensive on an $800 stock, depending on the movement of the stock. Was up $12 after the earnings announcement. If we take a look at the most previous earning announcement, dropped around $30 on this one. Went up around $40 on this one. And open 705, low, close 705, pretty even on this one. So it could be anywhere from a $10 to a $25 mover tomorrow. So we'll keep an eye on it. Markets after hours, which don't really mean much because there is no liquidity in the market. Remember that. After hours wise, basically the market has to meet together. There is no middleman or the market maker making trades go through to make a liquid and fair market. So anything is possible after hours. We'll get an idea tomorrow about 4 a.m. You'll see the this is when the pre-market opens up for institutional investors, and you get an idea around what they're doing. So we're keeping an eye on Chipotle. Obviously, we're keeping an eye on Tesla. Tesla was huge, right? Mass sell-off came right at 1548, 348, 348 to 354. It went from 968 to 8 60. Whoa. Equivalent that into dollar amount, which you can't, but you can. At least 10 grand if people traded that correctly. Huge. I was watching it, but I was not getting involved in that. The stock has been on an absolute heater since about December, when it was around $300 a share. So it's tripled in about 2 months. Um, one thing that happens when stocks essentially uh, trade like this, day traders get a hold of it and they have a heyday. So this is not a true valuation. It is just literally the last week has just been going up by the hundreds. And day traders will get a hold of that and have a heyday. And sell down. Right here. Saudi Arabian company. Sold out. Made a lot. Probably held it for the last 3 days. Obviously, sold a really good amount. Let me turn on the volume here. Turn on volume. Let's look at that volume. Now these 2-3 minutes here, we're talking 700,000, probably over a million, probably about 2 to 3 million. Now it traded 60 million for the day, but it didn't trade. It was trading pretty much in very minute until then. Dumped a massive amount of shares. So that Saudi Arabian investment firm probably made a pretty decent amount of money, if I had to take a guess. So we're definitely watching this. It opened at 882. It closed at 887, up $5 after it was up. Now this pre-market, it shows up 107, but that was pretty much all in the pre-market because the previous close was 780. So it closed on Tuesday at 780. It opened up at 880, $100 difference. So get an eye on what's going to happen at that one there. Tesla's going to be the one you want to keep your eye on. Disney was very mixed. If you were watching, I can't show you now because it's all said and done, but Disney was up to 150. Disney was down to 143. Disney was back up to 146, 147, into around 144. Ended up down. Good earnings. Good earnings report from Disney, actually. We take a look here at Disney. Just load here, Disney. So Disney Plus was 28.6 million paying subscribers, this announced. But it did not announce the forecast for Disney Plus, so that kind of hurt it a bit. But it did actually beat in the top and bottom line. Let's see here. Boom. Beats by 9 cents, so $1.53 a share on an estimation of $1.44. Revenue rose 36% year over year. Huge. 20.86 billion versus 20.84 billion. So that 0.02 is a pretty good amount of money, but ESPN Plus 6.6 million subs. Hulu subs grew 33%. I think this was actually pretty good earnings. I think it just hurt them that they didn't actually announce the forecast of where they see Disney Plus. it's one of those things. It was like a fad. It just came out. Everybody loves it, right? But is it gonna stay? People gonna stay? People still love it? Are they gonna change anything? Add anything? All that. So Hulu growing 33% and ESPN actually growing at 6%. That's pretty big considering the fact that ESPN has been struggling, and there's so many different streaming services out there. If you didn't know, Disney owns Hulu. Anyway, so we're definitely keeping an eye on this guy here, and it's in the Dow. It's in the Dow 30 stock. So if we take a look at the Dow 30, it's right here. Green Day open tomorrow, like it shows right now. It'd probably go up. Not gonna necessarily go up as much as we think or wanted it to, but I didn't trade the options on Disney simply because 3 days ago Disney was at like a buck 37 and buck 37, buck 40, buck 45. I mean, it literally baked in, and it's at its all-time, or it's at a 52-week high. Actually, it zoom out. It's at an all-time high. Never been any higher. So essentially, it could have, I thought, may have had some of the earnings already kind of baked into that price. So got to be careful on some of that stuff when you're trading options on earnings. But we'll take an eye on that tomorrow. Snap. Wow. Snapchat. So Snapchat for the past 2 months, right here at the end of December, was about $5 a share. Went up to about $18, $19. We're looking at a 20% sell off after their earnings announcement last night. So Snapchat misses the quarterly revenue estimates. You know, people taking gains. Essentially, when you've been up that much, and it's actually been a kind of a struggling stock all in together since its inception. Up, down, 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 down. Wow, in a recovery, right? But it went down 10% after hours. Revenue rose 44% to 50.68 million, but it missed the average estimate or the analyst of 563 million. So it did not meet expectations, and there's a lot of social media style, um, Facebook, TikTok, which is I don't think TikTok is actually publicly traded. No, they're not. And I don't know who owns TikTok, to be honest, but does this even work? Yeah, it does. Okay. Yeah, so I don't know who owns TikTok, but it's getting pretty popular as well. So this will be an interesting one to watch for. If it does sink down 20%, we'll be looking at some longer term options, maybe even until the beginning of next year, because you can get into some that are a couple $100, and you know, kids love Snapchat. Um, I still, excuse me, not real sure how they make all their money, you know, since their primary market is kids. Advertising obviously is how. So, anyway, we're watching Snapchat tomorrow. One of the next things I want to kind of cover here on my broadcast is earnings. Tomorrow earnings. This is earnings season, baby. This is money, 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 right? The couple big ones in the morning. Spotify. People love Spotify, right? Since inception, about a little over a year and a half ago, kind of been on a roller coaster. Big roller coaster. So, I don't know if it can break out to where it's been in the past, but market's at all-time highs. Good chance that it could. But the last 2 days, what I do not like to see anytime I am potentially going to trade earnings is when the last 2 days it goes from 141 to 155. And it's literally like the entire last 4 months. You know, I hate to see it. I hate to see it. So we're watching this one. We're definitely watching this one. Options on this guy here. Let's take a look. Mm-hmm. 600, 400, $600. Not very many calls. Look at the volume in the calls. You. Look at these puts. None. Very low volume. As for the 21st, do the weekly one since people do trade the weekly. Calls. People wanted to land around a $1.80. 1,400. Gonna say about a $1.60. Puts. Nobody. Pretty good chance based on the volume of these options here. It'll be up tomorrow. But these people also day traded this because it was up $7 today. So, I mean, $7 today, $5 yesterday. I hate to see it when we're going to look at options, but this one we're definitely going to be looking at. There's no information on it because it's one of those pretty new, um, young, music related. Apple Music's in that market, things like that. So, another thing that we're going to look at is tomorrow night. Qualcomm. Qualcomm's huge. And Qualcomm, let's see, what's this dividend here? X day 3-4, okay. Qualcomm's down from the end of last month, 95-ish, trying to recover. This is definitely one to watch. Qualcomm's been around forever. Apple had great numbers. Qualcomm is it's in the CDMA, it's in cell phone market. So Apple had great earnings. Apple grew iPhones for the first time in I don't know how long it was. Watch Qualcomm. Another one that people are interested in right now, and I'm not real sure, is Peloton. I'm just watching this one. Brand new in the market. Just keeping an eye on this one. It's only had one other earnings announcement, but if you look here, announces earnings, goes from 22, runs all the way to 37 with no looking back here. And, it kind of just levels out, trades with the market here. So keep an eye on this one. It's already been at 37. Why wouldn't it go back, You can get into these for 41 here, 9,000. 35, 11,000 volume, 1,600 volume puts. No puts. We're watching that one tomorrow, ladies and gents. I have this one written down, but we won't be trading it. But, it's not, we'll take a look at it. Zynga. Zynga's down from where it was a little bit ago. It's 690. I like it. I like that. I like that. Yeah. It's at an all-time high other than when it first came out. So it's at a high that it's been for the last 6 years. We'll put it that way. Zynga is slots, Word with Friends, Zynga Poker, Farmville, things of that nature. Essentially, it's cell phone games, and options are cheap depending on how she opens. It's tomorrow night after close too, by the way. So Um, you'd have to go through the entire trading day, and we'll keep an eye on that. But there's no puts as of yesterday. Keep an eye. Probably won't trade it, but you know, one I like is Sonos. I'm a fan of the Sonos. Um, it's pretty new into the market. Has a few earnings calls. Been out for 2-3 years. Pretty popular. A lot of margin. Down from 16. Why couldn't it go back up to 16 when it was up there for just market reasons anyway on good earnings? If you take a look here, you get an idea where people are thinking about 15. No puts. None. Zilch on the puts. Keep an eye on the Sonos. One I always like to keep an eye on is GoPro. This was a big fad. Unfortunately, kind of fell apart. People quit messing with it, and it's been up there before. It's been $120 when it first came out, and it just has not been able to recover. The only reason why I'm interested in GoPro is, I mean, it's a great device. There's no puts. There's calls. Check the monthly option. Same thing. But decent amount of calls in there. Just a tad. You look at the last earnings run, it actually ran the entire week up till earnings. Had a good little couple days after. Fell off. We'd have to do research on that day and see what the sell off was it from, or if it was just market sell off. But poor GoPro. Keep an eye on the GoPro. Twilio. Twilio's huge. Cloud communication. Essentially, internet cloud based. It's fairly new. It's been on a heater. It's been down from the high about $1.50. The last year and a half or so, it was on an absolute steady screamer. The last few days from the beginning of 2020 is up $30, up 30%. Got to just keep that in mind. It's been $1.50 before. It could go back. Let's see where the puts are at. There's some puts right here at the 125, 1200 bought yesterday on an up day, and not a significant amount of volume on the calls. And it was up $3. So typically calls when the stock's up $3 or so, calls will be up anyway. Period. Yeah, puts right here at 125. Whew. Not looking good for them. So I'm gonna end the broadcast here soon, but I could go all night. One of the ones that I'm very interested in is one of them. I got 3 of them to go through here. Thursday, Uber. Uber's been on a little bit of a struggle bus here. It's been up in the 40s. Couple earnings calls, losing billions. Went from 33 down to 26 since on a heater since. An analyst said Uber make money around 2021. It's only a year. We'll see what they say when they do the announcement in the conference call as well. But if we look at the calls in Uber, I mean, we have some significant amount of numbers in the calls. And puts. Just scroll down to the puts here. 21st, 7th. Put wise, 22, 16, 4, 5. 5,000 volume on a day when it was up $1. while you have 26, 26, 5, 17, 26, 15, 6, 17. I would keep an eye on the Uber. I think Uber is going to be a good long-term option, a long-term stock to own. The 21st, let's take a look at these calls. 1,000, 1,000, 1,000, 1,000. Take a look at these puts. 1,000. Give me an idea what's going to happen. This should go up, right? It's been beat up. They've been trying to make money. I don't know how they lose billions, but they do. Twitter. Everybody loves the Twitter. Man, Twitter's been on a heater since a $40 drop, mass drop, to 28ish, up to 33, which is good for Twitter, considering it moves a beta of 0.57. Not a big mover. It's been there before. It can come back. We'll see what happens with it. You can kind of gauge where the market wants it to fall. You've got some pretty big gamblers out there around this area. It's 8, 10, 15,000 on the call side versus 2, 5, 6,000 on the put side. And social media wise, Facebook didn't announce anything great. Snapchat's not announcing anything great. We'll see what happens, right? Put wise for the monthly options, typically people on something like this will trade the monthly style options, not weekly. 2,000, 3,000, maybe a little over 4 on the puts, and 4,600 in the 39s. So 5, 16,000 to 8 on the calls. Market wants this to go up. See what happens. I really am interested in WWE. Wow. They just had an absolute sell-off. Excuse me. I mean, 3 days ago, it went from $60 down $20. Insane in the membrane. Now, it has been on an absolute heater. Rising from $10 up into the $100 range even. So, and that was just about a year ago. But man, this drop. Let's see if the news still shows why it dropped like that. Management shakeup and lower guidance. They lowered their guidance before earnings even came out. That's dangerous, right? But let's look how, put wise, not very many puts. Long term based. No put. One call went through. Definitely watching WWE. They lower guidance though. It's never a good thing when you lower guidance, and they could be paying some new athletes. They are trying to get some of them back. But that's gonna conclude this video here. And essentially, I hope you enjoyed it. This is kind of the things we're gonna watch tomorrow. I'll be live tomorrow. We'll take a look. I gotta go to the gym. I gotta get big, X date, payment date, 12-cent dividend. And ultimately, there's a lot coming up tomorrow. Oh, one last. Baba. February the 13th for the Baba. It has been absolutely hovering around this $200 price point for so long. It's on its way out. It's gotta just bust out. Got to. Amazon bust out. Amazon buys a lot of things from Baba. I mean, 300. I don't know about that, but definitely are bullish. Definitely people bullish. There's a couple bears out there. Let's go to the weekly one, see where everybody's kind of lining up for the week. 12,000, 6,000, 4,000, 14, 11, and 12. 28, 4, 8, 4, 1. Oh no, earnings. Earnings is the 13th, so those don't make any difference at all. So the puts, we got 13, 24, 13, 15, 13, 11. And calls. Light calls. 7, 6, I mean, it's 13. It's about even. Pretty big people around here, 225 and 230. And they're one of those companies that can kind of skew a little bit of that earnings call and kind of say some weird things and make things happen even if they don't hit. So, anyway, my name is Blake. I am out. Please like and subscribe if you are, learning something with me. And essentially, these are my insights on how the day for tomorrow is going to go. About 3 hours, we're going to be able to see where this pre-market's opening up. But keep in mind, your typical investors don't even start trading until about 8 a.m. Your big investors are the only ones allowed to trade at 4 anyway. Institutional millionaires and up. And we'll all be there one day. So always remember, this is a marathon, not a sprint. We will make money. Let the money come to you. And pigs get slaughtered. Please remember, pigs get slaughtered. When there are gains and you've only got $40 involved and you make $20, sell it. Absolutely sell it. You can sell it. Think about it tomorrow. So, all right, everybody. I may do another video tonight. I'm not sure. But this is going to conclude my video. About an hour long. Please subscribe. See you guys tomorrow.